Hey guys, just making this video today to walk you through how I am referencing colleague names of the prospect in an email. So first things first, in this example, what I've done is create a people search with the chief marketing officers, head of marketing, all these sorts of people within some software companies in the US. And then what I've done then is simply come into here, I've gone find people, and let's say, for example, we want to find people in their team who are marketing managers. So then I've done that people search, and this is what I got. In here, it's pretty much marketing directors and marketing managers, who hopefully the CMO or the head of marketing is going to know, as they would be their colleague. So we've got these people in here. Lovely. These are the colleagues of our ICP leads. Then the next thing we do here is we use a lookup multiple roles in other table column. So we're going to search the colleagues table. We are going to check if the target domain equals the domain we have in this in the execs table. And then what we'll get there is some records here. So here, for example, we managed to find 2 colleagues of the original executive. So then what we've done there is we've mapped candidate or colleague 1, first name there, colleague 2, first name there. And that's pretty cool. We've got some people who, in theory, are underneath the executive that we're trying to target. However, inside bigger companies, this is not always enough because companies have multiple offices across the country or across the world even. So that's not very helpful. The next step we have to do here is come back into this lookup that we did with the first names, and then we are going to map the location in addition to the first name. So we've done that here, and then we can do that for the other lead as well. And pretty much what I've done here is a location check column. Nice and cheap and free using just a plain clay formula. And I'm going to say check the box if exec location is equal to colleague 1 location. And in this case, I've got a check. And I'm going to presume that this means they're working out of the same office or at least in the same city, so they should know each other. As you can see here, there's not always a hit, so keep that in mind here. I'll address how we deal with that in a minute. But yeah, so I've done the same thing for the colleague 2, and we get a variety of checks here. And then another thing here, based on how many of the colleagues out of the 2 are checked, they're either going to go to campaign 1, where we're going to name drop both colleague names, or they're going to go to campaign 2, where we're only going to name drop one colleague name, which means we get to maximize the number of leads that we get to push into these interesting campaigns. So as you can see here, Anna Maria and Maratis are both in the same city or country or location as the executive, so they get a check for campaign 1. Whereas here, for example, Erin is the only colleague that's in the same city as the exec, so then they get a check in the campaign 2 checkbox. Beautiful. Yeah, so, and then we've got their first names all cleaned up here, which will be ready to input into the copy. So as you can see here, we filtered it just to only show the leads where campaign 1 checkbox is checked. And now, in this copy, we are going to be able to input both of the names. I can show you the formula. So we'll just input the copy, and then we can input this as a variable into our copy in our email. But we're going to go, not sure if you're the right person to speak to about this. Should I be talking to colleague 1 first name, or colleague 2 first name instead? Bang. And then, as you can see here, we're going to go, not sure if you're the right person. Should I be talking to Tianyu or Sophia? Should I be talking to Marissa or Mia Karina instead? Beautiful, just like that. And then the slightly adapted one in campaign 2. I'm going to hide that one. For the campaign 2 copy, we will reach out and say, not 100% sure if I'm or you're the right person to speak to about this. Should I be speaking to you or Camille instead? And that's just another way to include a colleague name who's working in the same city, but then to not also add in a random person who doesn't work in their office at all. So yeah, A big important thing, I think, which I've seen some people leave out in examples before, is the location check, and I think this sort of defeats the purpose of doing this if you do name drop a whole random person that this CMO has never heard of who works on the West Coast when they work on the East Coast. So yeah, that's a nice little thing we do here, which is really easy and free. Yeah, so that's that. I hope this was helpful, guys. Let me know if you've got any questions. DMs are open. Cheers.